measures against Iran are still to come. They're called the second set of sanctions, then they will hit the oil and energy sector, and they will introduce in November. Fereidun Fesharaki is a pioneering Middle East oil analyst. He's the founder and chairman of FACS Global Energy and led the National Petroleum Council in the US. He joins me from delightful place, from Hawaii. And we're delighted to have you with us. So the sanctions, the second set of sanctions, when they come in on the oil and gas industry, how seriously will they hit?
Well, they will hit the market very seriously. Iran is an exporter of crude products, condensates, of about 3 million barrels per day. The US says, I want to bring it to zero. Under Obama administration sanctions, what Iran lost was only 1.2 million barrels per day. This time we are aiming at 3 million barrels per day. And on top of that, Richard, is the issue of the Venezuelan collapse. Venezuelan oil production has gone down by 700,000 barrels per day, and we're looking at another 300,000 barrels per day. So combine Iran and Venezuela, 4 million barrels per day of volume is lost, and the demand is going up by 1.5 million barrels per day. So we need 5.5 million barrels per day of oil. We cannot find it in the market. It doesn't exist.
So Iran is banned by US sanctions. And obviously, third-party corporations and third countries don't want to trade with Iran because that could be, as I understand it, falling foul of the secondary sanctions that have been in place. Why are other countries like China and India and why are they following these sanctions? Why don't they just trade anyway?
Well, you know, we need to understand that the US military is not as critical as the US Treasury. US Treasury can target a company. They cannot do any business anywhere. Last time around, when under the Obama sanctions, which were not so severe, still China and India complied. Everybody complied. People complain, moan, but they comply. It is the same story that we hear in Europe. There is no way that any European company is going to sanction. The countries are not sanctioned. The companies are sanctioned. So they cannot survive under the Treasury sanctions, and everybody will comply.
And this idea that eventually this will bring the Iranians either to a better nuclear agreement than the JCPOA, do you buy that?
Well, it's possible. You know, the situation needs to get a lot worse. Actually, there is very little impact on the Iranian oil export as of yet. That we're going to see after November 4. So the impact is in 2019. I think that it's possible. The Iranians are watching the special prosecutor investigation to see whether that would interfere with the sanctions or not. But beyond that, I think that they may have no choice of either starting something very, very difficult in the military intervention, or they have to come to the table.
And on that point, the state of the Iranian economy is not good. We saw the recent strike at a famous market in Tehran, where basically market trader says there's no business here, we're shutting up shops. So, you know, are the chickens coming home to roost here? Is the Iranian government in deep trouble?
I think they are in serious trouble. You know, today is the 6th day that the riots continue in 6 different cities. However, you know, the government has plenty of tools to strongly suppress any kind of protest, and they haven't used it so far yet for this group of protests. But I don't think they are prepared to hand over the key and leave the country. They are going to stay, and they have to try and find a way to negotiate the situation. But the upshot of all this thing is that the price of oil is going to go up, and lots of other countries will benefit a lot.
Good to see you, sir. Thank you for joining us from Hawaii. We much appreciate it. Good to have you.